In this tutorial in CyberLink AudioDirector, we're going to deal with a very common problem involved in speech and narration, dealing with a category of sounds that we make when we speak called plosives. Plosives are those sounds that you make when you capture air and hold it back behind your lips, teeth, or tongue. The most common plosives in the English language are P, B, T, and K. And oftentimes, if we don't have an ideal recording environment, what we do is we tend to pronounce these letters in such a way that it becomes slightly irritating when you listen to them in the final form. Now, I have here a short little clip, and we've shown you how to do the plosives in the wrong way in the recording. So we're going to play this and listen, and you will see. I'm going to also enlarge the audio track, and you see we already have some clipping going on because of them. Listen, and they'll be very evident.
We wish to thank the park planning team for raising the primary funding for the tennis court remodel. They took the time to promote the project and build a great team along the way. Our special thanks to Pierce Kingman and Beverly Thompson.
Okay, you see that it's a very hot audio track, and these particular category of sounds are not all that helpful. It doesn't give us what we want. Now, oftentimes this happens because we have less than perfect equipment, or that we did not record it in a wise way, or we're just in an environment where this is what we have and we have to work with it. We can go back and re-record perhaps, or we can put some screens around our mic that will block out some of the plosive problems that we have, or we can turn to AudioDirector and deal with it in post-production. So there are some ways to deal with this particular kind of sound issue right in AudioDirector. That's what our tutorial's about. So let's get right to it. Here's the audio track. I'll highlight it, and then I'll click on the Edit Audio in my PowerDirector and choose AudioDirector. That will load the AudioDirector companion program. And here we have our track that we need to modify. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here and turn those two segments down. And we see the clipping going on, and we need to make some changes. Now, the way to do that is go to the button or tab at the top called Restore. I think it's misnamed because it doesn't return it to something it was earlier. I would call this Repair, but this is what we have. It's called Restore. And at the very bottom, we have an option called Plosive Removal. I'm going to click on that. And now I have a pop-up screen, and we know it's changed the appearance to the spectral frequency view. And so there are three sliders that we need to deal with. The first one is the frequency limit. This deals with the way in which it looks at the frequency of the sound file. And with plosives, they probably will never have to go above 300 hertz, but the default is 200. Now, sensitivity is how much the algorithm listens for those sounds, how aggressive it is on hearing them, as it were. And it starts at 50%. You can slide it up or down. Strength deals more with how much it replaces those sounds with other sounds. And when you get really high, it will distort them. And we'll show you an example. There are 5 defaults that you can pick from. Default, light, maintain low frequency, moderate, and heavy. And you can create your own, which I did here with this item called test. I'll show you how to do that. So you can start out with any sound option and go ahead and just preview it in AudioDirector. Listen to the difference. This is not quite as bad as the original.
We wish to thank the park planning team for raising the primary funding for the tennis court remodel. They took the time to promote the project and build a great team along the way.
Okay, that's not too bad. Now, let's assume I want to be a little more aggressive. Let's use the default or the preset called Heavy.
We wish to thank the park planning team for raising the primary funding for the tennis court remodel. They took the time to promote the project
Now that's a little bit too aggressive because it doesn't make it sound natural. But you notice a difference. In heavy, my frequency limit is up here to 300 hertz. The sensitivity is up to 70, but the replacement is up to 90. So I can take any of the 5 presets, and the minute I move any of the 3 sliders, notice it changes to custom. And if I want to change that custom and save it, let's say we crank this one down and we take our replacement strength maybe in the low 60s. We can save that as a preset. I can call it what I want. I will call this junk because I won't save it later. And click on OK. And now on my presets, I have the test one, which I created myself, and now the junk one. And if I click on the gear next to any I created, it will let me remove it. But for fun, let's see what this one sounds like. I'll click on the preview button again.
We wish to thank the park planning team for raising the primary funding for the tennis court remodel. They took the time to...
That's not too bad. So let's say that's what we want. You don't have to build your own preset. You can just make the adjustments and apply without doing that. But we'll apply what we've done here, and we'll click on the apply button at the bottom. And now I've applied the changes to a copy of that audio file. When I click on the close in the upper right corner, it says, do you want to send these changes back to PowerDirector? I'll say yes. When we return to the main project, we see our modified file, our audio file, replacing the original one. And we notice the original one is still in our media area. The second one simply has a 0 appended to the name of the file. So this is our modified, and this one is our original. But when we go to play it now, we'll find it has a much better sound than it did before.
We wish to thank the park planning team for raising the primary funding for the tennis court remodel.
Now, unfortunately, in some occasions in PowerDirector, the waveform doesn't appear. And this is a glitch in the program that the designers are still working on, but that's what we have to work with at this point in our tutorial. Anyway, the good news is that the repair worked, and you can use the plosive removal as often as you want to improve the sound quality of an audio file, or in particular, a movie production.